All right, we got another project going. As you can clearly see from all the garbage laid out, it's probably going to be some type of building project. Of course, as the title states, it's going to be another shed. Why? Because, well, aside from the storage trailer, we need another medium for storing larger equipment, such as the John Deere tractor, air compressors, cement mixer, even the power tools. Just need somewhere that we can actually contain everything out of the elements and in one spot. And that's where all this stuff will come in. This area of the yard is at the northwest corner of the compound, where I also relocated a lot of other junk when I enclosed the area in fully. But yeah, these are components from an old portable garage right here. I also have, as you clearly see, a bunch of lumber. That'll be for our foundation frame and these cement blocks here that are used for holding said foundation frame. First thing I got to do is, well, arrange the blocks and build the foundation frame. Tack on some 4x8 plywood because the structure is going to be 10 by 12, so we can kind of keep things in a relatively uniform dimension. So 10 by 12, put that stuff up to build the actual garage frame, then go ahead and clad the thing with corrugated sheet metal and put the doors on there and all that. I'll probably have some type of large door, not necessarily a roll-up garage door, but it'll be a pair of swing out doors probably. But something big enough that'll allow us to drive in the John Deere tractor or go-kart, ATV, whatever. And it'll have a couple lights in there, of course, because got to be able to see what the heck you're doing in there when you're looking for something at night. So I'm going to go ahead and get these blocks arranged and start nailing together some boards. So stand by. Okay, we have our foundation, our plywood and dimensional lumber foundation completed. Now we can start putting all that junk in place and actually build us a frame. Like I said, this came from originally it came from a 10 by 20 portable garage from Harbor Freight. Now 10 by 20 is the base dimensions because the walls tapered at an angle up to the top. Those roof portions right there are really more like 8 feet wide from bottom to bottom. So for all intents and purposes, these frame pieces here will fit almost perfectly with the walls being perfectly vertical on our frame right here. So go ahead and start assembling this junk. Alright, so far we have our vertical posts put up, as well as these connecting posts right here to tie everything together. This isn't going to be the only stuff that gets put up to hold everything together. After I put the roof truss or frame pieces up here, I could add some stuff along the top to further reinforce it, so we'll have extra spots to anchor our sheet metal. But we did have to level everything and measure and all that, so everything doesn't look too crooked and cockeyed, but it's not too bad. it's off to a good start. So next thing will be roof frames. So let's continue. All right, we're pretty much done with our frame here. Got all the support pieces that I feel will be necessary to allow us to hang all the sheet metal we're going to be hanging. Even on these ends here, I added an extra little piece of tubing right here, kind of centered, same thing there, because that 8-foot span there, that's going to be pretty wide to hang a piece of sheet metal all the way across that without any extra support. These ends here, not too bad, they're not wide, so only 4 foot, that's good. Same thing right there, there's plenty of support right there. Same thing with the roof. All the roof support pieces are in. Now, I ran out of these little fancy brackets that came with the portable garages because, well, a lot of it was used up on the greenhouse when I installed these roof frame pieces in there. So, to remedy that, I just took regular little conduit braces and put a little self-tapping screw through there to hold the brace to the tube, and then used bolts as usual through the holes and everything to secure all that crap. That had to be done in multiple spots because, well, I ran out of brackets. Some spots I had to actually couple 2 shorter pieces of pipe together, like right here. These are actually 2 short pieces, one's narrower than the other and inserted into each other to create one long tube. Same thing here, here. Basically all 4 of these are 2 pieces put together. But it's all done, it's all pretty sturdy and all. We're pretty much ready for sheet metal now. So we're gonna continue with the work. Let's go. All right, pretty much struck pay dirt with our sheet metal acquisition here. We got 20 sheets of this salvage sheet metal for $100. They're probably a little better than 8 feet in length. I would actually say probably more like 10 feet in length, as you could see, but more than enough than what we'll need to clad our shed frame. So with that, let's start hanging some metal. All right, we've got our shed fully clad with sheet metal on all sides, even right there on the bookends. Take a look inside here. It's all covered up. Obviously, all the little pinholes that you see are holes from where this metal used to be mounted on a building, so I'm going to have to caulk all that, as well as apply foam on all the seams at these corners, like I started right there. A little note on this last section right here that I had to do. I had to actually take a minute to do some fancy measurements to cut a raw piece to go up here. Basically started off by cutting a 8-foot long section, then taking 3 measurements at 2, 4, and 6 feet, and then measuring straight up and taking those measurements, as you could see how I wrote them down, and then marked those lengths of lines on the raw panel, and then took a board and traced a straight line that intersected with all those points so I could get a rough angle to cut. Once I done that, I put the panel up there, secured a couple screws, and then just trimmed the excess off until I got the panel to where it would fit in place flush, and then finish it off with some more screws. So, like I say, this whole thing is pretty much clad with metal. Our next move is going to be making our door. What I plan on doing for the door is taking this old chain link fence gate and basically widening and lengthening it by cutting it at 4 points, adding some of that tube metal there to achieve the dimensions necessary to cover this gap, as well as add an extra piece of metal across the middle there so I could have an anchor point for our sheet metal and use the remaining metal we have to cover that door. And I'll also be using the hinges that were with the chain link gate in order to hang it on these tubes here. So yeah, time for some cutting and welding. Okay, we got our door frame hung up and fitted. Had to use these chain link gate hinges. These are actually two of the same female hinges with a large bolt going through them because the small tubes right here won't accommodate the other side, the male clamp, which is for like a 2 3/8 tube. Both hinges are on. The gate is fitted where it'll open enough to be able to go straight in. It'll close. So now we hang some sheet metal. Stand by. Okay, our door is more or less done. After a whole bunch of trimming to fit this thing, it pretty much closes as it needs to. Obviously, we got a gigantic gap all the way around, which we will have to address in some way, shape, or form. Got a couple ideas for that. One is cutting some rubberized PVC stripping attached to the door around there. Another might be to put some kind of a little awning thing around here that might help shed some water from just coming around through there. Yeah, like I say, some rubber stripping, who knows, we'll figure it out. But we still have to put a handle on here as well as a hasp for a padlock so people can't just get in. So we're in the home stretch now. Still have to caulk and foam everything up just as well, but yeah, still got to finish the door all the way. So let's do it. Okay, quick solution to the whole problem. Like I stated, rubberized PVC shower pan liner, screwed in place along this hinge section right here. It more or less will cover it. It's kind of a rough covering, but enough to at least keep water from seeping in through here if it's raining sideways. Another thing is a little crude awning or shield or whatever from some scrap sheet metal tacked up over the door here just to shed the water, so when it runs down it hits this and runs off to the sides or off the front of it instead of down and into the gap between the door. And a simple little cheap a simple little cheap handle right here. Nothing more, nothing less, just enough to be able to open the door without cutting your hand on anything. So with that cheesiness all done, now I can start adding some foam and caulk. Stand by. Okay, for all intents and purposes, we're pretty much done with this shed. I'll show you why in a minute, but we got power, as you can see. We have a green cord right here connected up to the shed right here, and it's actually routed along this fence line going across the gate to the chicken yard where it's buried, and then it comes up here going into this electrical box right here, hardwired in, tapping off of that for power. Inside, the cable, which is a salvaged old extension cord, comes in here to this junction box where that cable is wire nutted to a Romex cable running up along here, zip tied here, going to another junction box with an outlet and switch. As you can see, there is a plug plugged in going to an LED shop light, which is hung from the frame. And that, of course, is powered off the switch. This outlet is tied to the switch. We also have this black cable right here going outside to our motion sensor light, which is LED as well. So whenever we want to come out here at night, we'll get instant illumination without burning a bunch of power, burning the light all night. As we can also see, we got a lot of foam and crap right there. Got to apply more of that. We also, if you could notice that, we have a bead of caulk up there covering the seam between the short and long panels, as well as along our little awning thingy up there. Got a little bit of caulk up there. Got a lot more caulk to apply. Even little pinholes are all caulked up. We also have our latch right here, which is secured in place with self-tapping hex head screws, which adds a little bit of security, because who's carrying hex head sockets and shit like that, impact wrenches and all that crap? It'll buy a little bit of time before somebody could get in here, because we have a padlock on that, unless you just come in here with a pry bar and pry it open, but whatever. Anyway, this thing, for all intents and purposes, is done. We still have a little bit of stuff here and there, like I say, more caulking to do, more foam to apply. Have to make a little ramp here, so whenever we do have rolling stock, we'll be able to put it in there a lot easier. But all in all, the shed is done, and it is ready to start loading up with junk, so we can clear the yard up a little bit and get some order around here. So, as you can see, we're also running out of daylight, so we're going to go on inside. So as usual, till the next time, hit that like button, subscribe, notifications, all that good stuff. Stay tuned for more projects and updates to projects and all that good stuff going on around here. And we will catch you later.